I ask you, dear viewer, to take a moment and close your eyes. Imagine the following scenario with me. You awaken from a deep, seemingly endless slumber. Gradually emerging from the depths of your subconscious, you realize that you're awakened by a powerful craving, a consequence of complete deprivation, the absence of the most basic human need: food. As your senses sharpen and reality comes into focus, the specter of starvation looms over you, a passive reminder of past experiences. It is a tragic fate to succumb to such circumstances, after enduring countless battles, overwhelming stress and anxiety, to simply let one's body succumb to fatigue induced by hunger and cease to exist. What could be of a greater torment than reliving this cycle repeatedly? To be condemned to an eternal struggle against oneself, to battle a daunting force beyond one's control, only to face a tragic demise and fail to persevere, just to be brought back to life once more. Centuries ago, a rogue light-bearer endured such a fate. Throughout his life, he went by many names and aliases, but to us, he is known as the Drifter. We know him as the weird uncle type who smuggles some illegal stuff once in a while and runs a scheme called Gambit. While Drifter gives off a playful, warm persona at first, throughout the years we've learned more and more about him, from his arrival in Forsaken to the investigation in Season of the Drifter, to Dark Vanguard and Tombs of Nazareth. This guy has seen the world and can tell us much more than we expected. This video essay aims to follow this character's journey as we delve into the complex character of Drifter and shed light on his psyche by exploring the questions that arise from his experiences. First, by researching Drifter's cryptic persona, what conclusions can we draw about the meaning of trust in a universe of destiny? Ultimately, can we trust Drifter? And what does it take for Drifter to bestow trust upon someone? Why does he trust our character? Drifter is initially written by Jonathan Toe and many other writers that followed at Bungie, and is voiced by Todd Haberkin. We managed to get some insight from Bungie regarding Drifter as a character in their video for Season of the Drifter. Have a listen.
The Drifter is front and center of this release, and I love that. Personally, the Drifter is my spirit animal. He is the best.
There's some super deep lore there with Drifter and the Nine, why he's doing what he's doing.
Okay.
We've got some really cool things that happen over the course of Season of the Drifter, and we definitely wanted to pay off those things.
The Drifter is one of the oldest light bearers that we know about in the Destiny universe. He comes from a period called the Dark Age. It was a tough time. He had to do what he had to survive.
You've been straying. You don't even use his name no more. Well, that's why I'm still breathing, brother.
Drifter used to run with some bad folks.
He's a guy that has been part of many different crews over time, but always, for some reason, pushed them away.
Sorry, old friend.
Drifter is kind of your shady uncle who teaches you how to fight dirty.
Behind you.
He wants to teach you how to drift, if you'll let him, so that you can survive too.
Don't you think John Toe is secretly the Drifter?
John Toe is secretly. I guess really what I mean is John Toe's my spirit animal.
Yeah, maybe.
Dredgen.
Nah, not anymore. It's Drifter now.
He's not what he appears to be. He is Dredgen Hope. He's always encouraging Guardians to ride the line between light and dark.
And when the time comes, we'll finally be in the clear.
Drifter's connection to the Nine actually runs pretty deep, and the common link there is actually a character called the Emissary.
The Emissary of the Nine used to be a Guardian long ago. Went off in search of the mysteries of the universe. Somehow ran into the Nine, and that character now is different, has been changed.
The Nine are interested in the survival of the solar system, and they believe that the role that Drifter is playing right now with Guardians in running Gambit and Gambit Prime is essential to the coming war against the darkness.
Why do they allow the Drifter to continue to encourage Guardians to dabble in the darkness? Motes of dark in Gambit are fragments of darkness.
Accept this gift from the Nine.
The Hall represents a battery of infinite potential. The Nine gave it to Drifter to see what he would do with it. He wants to find a way to hunker down and stay safe for whatever he thinks is coming.
But he always thinks something's coming.
This time he might be right. We're definitely trying to move toward more of an ongoing living world, one where the story evolves with players as they live inside the world. And because it's the Emissary and because it's the Nine, it will be very cryptic. We're asking, what does it mean to be a Guardian?
Is the light a gift? Who are you, and what do you stand for?
We're really excited for people to dig into that and speculate.
Gift? What gift?
I want to clarify that everything said in my video is my pure interpretation of the events in the lore, and none of my summaries or theories are confirmed by Bungie. So, in order to understand what just happened, we need to start at the very beginning. In case you're unfamiliar with the world and rules of Destiny's universe, Drifter is who you would call a Lightbearer, or a Risen, which means that he was revived by an anomaly called the Traveler through the tools we call ghosts, and now he holds reality-bending, godlike powers. However, Drifter is not a Guardian, he is not a Hunter or a Warlock, as he was born from an era way before those classifications. He opened his eyes in the night air and took an even breath. He wasn't sure how long he'd been asleep, but his immediate instinct was to run. He froze. The voice wasn't his. "You have to run." A man we would know as Drifter was resurrected in the midst of chaos and confusion of the Dark Age, more than 1,000 years ago, before Guardians, before the last city. We don't know anything about what kind of man he was in his original life, and ultimately it doesn't matter. Upon being told by his ghost to run west, where supposedly safety lies, the man gathered himself and ran east. Is it wrong to judge him for his choice to run east, in the opposite direction of being told to? Is it incorrect to expect him to immediately gain trust in a floating hunk of metal that claimed to save him from certain death? This is where we learn that Drifter's story is not told in arcs or victories. His story is told through relationships. And this is where his adventure begins, with his relationship with the first thing he meets in his brave new afterlife-like world, his ghost. And his ghost would be his only friend, and the only thing he will never fully trust at the same time. At first, the man refused to have a name, and similarly declined naming his ghost anything, presumably not to grow any unnecessary affection to the thing, and is shown to refuse any help from his ghost. Shortly after, the man came to a shocking discovery after dying to a scorpion sting. He opened his eyes and took an even breath. "What should I call you?" Ghost asked. He looked at it as if considering, then down at his hands. "I'm still hungry." Right from the beginning, Drifter got to an understanding that the feeling of hunger and starvation carries over from one life to another, even after being revived. For being a game that is rated T for teen, Destiny does an excellent job of portraying some horrifying aspects of terror, such as the one described. How can we be sure that Traveler is an aspect of benevolence, a symbol of goodwill in its purest form, if her actions cause such a delusional travesty of life? And this planted the first seeds of doubt and mistrust Drifter had, specifically towards his ghost, the Traveler, and the light itself, which is confirmed through his own words.
Through every age and era, Drifter's done what he had to. The Warlords and the Iron Lords taught me that the light is no gift. It brought hell to Earth. And when we begged to die, it said hell no. They say the Dark Age was untold suffering. I could tell you a lot. Yeah, maybe next time. Dark Age was different times. We had no city. Warlords and Iron Lords tore up the whole world trying to prove who was better, what was worth fighting for. I was busy trying not to starve. You ever go hungry till you keeled over? We did that a lot in the Dark Age. Our ghosts would bring us back, still hungry. Really pissed me off.
At first he was known as Germain, a name that was whispered among the dwellers of a small village called Eton, located in a steep mountain range. It was a village of people of simplicity, untouched by the traveler, just trying to survive through the winter in the ongoing hostilities between the two groups of Risen, Warlords and Iron Lords. While one may draw conclusions and similarities between those two, and white and dark and black and white, none of that mattered to Germain. To Germain, a survivor of the Dark Age, it was irrelevant whatever lord you wanted to call yourself. The only lord who was important was the one whose hand was still holding the gun at the end of the fight, with their heart still beating. Since the beginning, Germain wished a simpler life, thus he kept his powers in secret, hiding his ghost and only performing minor miracles from time to time. Things have changed when Iron Lords came into town, with their leader, Lord Dryden, striking a deal which the villagers simply could not refuse. It would be food and supplies to survive the harsh winter in exchange for shelter and a hideout. To strike a warlord under the name of Red Man when they least expect it. However, the Iron Lord's plan did not go as smoothly as it was expected to be. When warlords came into town, with one of the civilians as hostage, they claimed that they saw a ghost, a wild ghost clearly belonging to one of the Iron Lords, and demanded to reveal their location, shooting another civilian in the process. As Iron Lords came out of hiding, it was not long till a full battlefield ensued. The village was razed by fire and light, turning the place into a bloodbath of dirt, dust, and light. Did Germain fight for a noble cause in that battle? Did he use his light for good to annihilate his enemies and bring peace to the village? Did he use his powers to save the lives of the people he stood by? No. Germain was holding a body of an innocent girl. A lonely child who witnessed the death of her father by the hands of the Red Man. A child who said goodbye to the world in Germain's arms.
Really pissed me off. There's one time I found a village to hide out in. A bunch of huts, really. Good people. They gave me work, and I kept my light a secret while I performed some minor miracles. Then the Iron Lords rolled into town. My ghost stayed out of sight, and they were none the wiser. They cut a deal with us as if we had a choice. Paid us to let them hide out till some warlords showed up, then ambushed them. We all got caught in the crossfire. My neighbor's kid told me something that still bounces around my head to this day. Right before the light went out in her tiny eyes, she whispered, "I can't feel anything." Yeah. I couldn't either. That's all I got. Cut the tape.
As the battle ended and the rest of the remaining Risen fled, Germain was left alone with nothing but a bunch of burned down huts, his ghost, and a pile of bones. And the following dialogue ensued. "Germain?" Ghost asked. "That's not my name." "You let them call you that." The man turned to look at his ghost. "It's not my name. One of the warlords mentioned seeing a lone ghost. Did you get sloppy?" Ghost nodded. "I'm sorry, I was scouting a new livestock route for you and I got carried away." "I don't ask for much," said the man, shaking his head. "Shovel, get me one." Ghost scanned the debris and ash to find a charred spade, lifting it with a lasso of light. The man slowly gathered all the bones he could find and began to dig. "The child, you," Ghost continued. "Stop talking," he replied. What did she tell you? You were speaking to her at the end." He didn't respond. It would be lifetimes before he told Ghost the answer, but he would remember. "You could have helped her." The shovel hit the dirt harder. "I told you to shut up. You could have saved them all." The man had nothing to say. "And who is he to blame for this catastrophe? Should he blame Iron Lords, or Warlords, or himself, or his ghost?" Germain knew the answer. As he began digging again, he noticed the bloated, spherical husk that dominated the sky. It had been out of his life for a while, but it seemed a lot closer to Earth tonight. He raised a hand to salute it with a single finger as Ghost looked on. "How you living?" he said, and gave a smile to the heavens that ended at his eyes. A man brought back into a cruel world, witnessing the fruits of travelers' benevolence come into gruesome wars and violence to no end. As expected, after this encounter, his relationship and approach towards Traveler, his ghost, and his own light only worsened. He had to find a way to survive without relying on some supernatural mumbo-jumbo, which meant that it was time for a change. Felwinter was a former warlord, the only one, it was said, to hold an entire mountain all by himself. He now rode with the Iron Lords, and Felwinter Peak was staunchly the territory of the Iron Wolves. They had never given Wu permission to build the bar. He had never asked. New name, new place, new people. He is now a man named Wu Ming, which means anonymous in Chinese. Wu Ming ran a bar at the bottom of Felwinter's Peak, pretending to be a simple mortal and earning glimmer under the keen eye of the Iron Lords. Some of the warlords were unsatisfied with Felwinter's shift of sides and came to the bar to establish dominance. They were quickly shut down by Lady Aphrodite, who Wu Ming had a great pleasure having business with, but his business with Iron Lords was not finished just yet. After a painful climb to the peak of the mountain, not without casualties of his own, Wu Ming reached Felwinter directly. It wasn't much warmer inside, though Felwinter's ghost had lit the fireplace for Wu. He sat across from the former warlord, both of them in massive Gothic chairs. "Who are you?" Felwinter spoke first. "Your neighbor. I live downstairs, been trying to get your attention for a month." Wu Ming grinned. "What do you want?" Wu thought about it. "I heard you kill. A necessity of life in this post-collapse existence. No, I'm talking risen. Final deaths. It's gotten real taboo recently. You Iron Lords are changing things." "Who are you? I don't believe you've been honest with me," Felwinter's voice echoed through the chamber. Wu Ming leaned back and rubbed his temples. His hands shook. Felwinter stared, unblinking. Wu had the feeling the Exa would sit, frozen in time, until he said something. "Ghost?" Wu Ming beckoned. His only friend in the world materialized out of the air. "Is that supposed to impress me?" Felwinter asked without a shred of irony. "How else would you have survived the climb?" Wu coughed. Ghost shook his head at him. "Let me ask again then," Wu Ming said, straightening to his full posture in the stupid chair. "Will you break the Iron Decree? Will you kill for real?" "As a warlord, I did many things I'm not proud of. Under the Iron Lords, I adhere to strict rules of engagement," Felwinter said. His voice sounded hollow inside his armored skin. "Ghosts are not valid targets. I heard you care very much about right and wrong and the delivery of justice to those who deserve it." Felwinter's eyes glowed brighter. "I can't think of a more human act," he said after a moment's pause. "I don't know that anyone has a right to that, but I believe in revenge with all my heart, and I have a request, knowing that you do what you do." Felwinter tapped his chin. "What are you asking me?" After revealing his true risen nature, Wu Ming had a lengthy chat regarding honor, justice, and Iron Lord's code, and whether killing one's ghost is morally ambiguous. He then requested Felwinter to deal a lethal blow to Lord Dryden and his ghost for disobeying the Iron Decree and causing harm to non-risen. Felwinter sat frozen in his chair. It was difficult to tell if he had registered any of what Wu Ming had said. "How do I know you're not lying?" the hollow voice asked finally. "I have live recordings," Wu replied. His ghost transmitted a data stream to Felwinter's ghost, who nodded. "Eton, who were those people to you?" "Nothing, just ghosts." "You want revenge for people you care nothing about?" "Is the Dark Horse of Iron for hire?" Felwinter stood and politely motioned for Wu Ming to take his leave. Wu sighed, shrugged, and left the chamber. He had a long climb ahead of him. The Exo parted his coat and drew a long, bronze shotgun from his side. "What do you think?" his ghost asked. "Call Lord Dryden. Prepare my Iron Banner arsenal." This section showcases Drifter's final stance on the battles between the lords. No matter how much effort the man put into staying to his own side, he still had his blinding alliance to a simple act of revenge. No matter what lord you were, Wu Ming would find a way to put a thorn in your side if you were to cross him. But that doesn't mean that the man was always alone. With Wu Ming's untrustworthy character, it's hard to believe that this fellow had a proper team, but in fact he did. At some point in the Dark Age, before the City Age, Wu Ming was operating a full, proper fire team, focusing on heists and break-ins into warlords' territory. It was a team of unity, precision, and perfection. They had Otto, the muscle, the big man, the sword master of the group. They had Thalia, the sneaky rogue, the attack from the shadows, the lookout. And then they had Orin, the masterful technician, the thunderous pyromaniac, the getaway artist. The Drifter later commented that his crew could have easily kept on like that for centuries. But the rats just had to be rats. Fortunately, Drifter knew the perfect place to settle disputes. "You know," said Senric, a thick-necked risen with a bulging vein in his forehead, "I've always thought you were a sneak. But after 5 drinks on your dime, I'm feeling pretty fond of you, Drifter." Everyone laughed. Drifter smiled, feet kicked up on the bar. The rifle holstered on his back was heavy with promise. "You're a real smooth talker," he said. "I wonder, you whisper those same sweet nothings to your pal, Lord Rince?" The bar fell quiet. The vein in Senric's forehead began to twitch. "Listen, no one's rocking the boat here," Jacques spoke up. "We shut Rince out, just like you said." "Funny, I seen you in that valley too, and Otto, and Orin, and Thalia." He looked at them each in turn. "Guess my eyes are playing tricks on me." Senric pushed his stool back. "You have something to say? Just say it plain." "Well, Sen, my eyes might be shot, but this?" He tapped the side of his nose. "Just fine. And I smell a rat." He sniffed. "A whole mess of them, actually." Senric stood up. That vein of his looked about ready to pop. Drifter let his feet down as he reached for his rifle, asked quick, "And you know what we do with rats, don't you, brother?" This tale only further drowns any hope for the nameless man to have any sort of close companionship with other light-bearers, let alone any lords. But then he met her. On the day she meets Wu Ming, she is on Bamberg. She has just left the Jensim lab. She has just read a transcript of Namki's last words. Her hands are shaking. She feels nauseous. She feels she can see herself in third person, tottering to a safe place to sit and cry. Wu Ming is a bonfire in the darkness, and she crawls toward his warmth. Her name is Orin. Similar to Drifter, she went by many names throughout her life. At first a spaceship pilot, then one of the firstborn Awoken, then one of the first members of the Queen's Guard under Marasov's guidance, and later, a Lightbearer, even a member of the Pilgrim Guard, oldest of all Titan orders, having been formed to protect refugees seeking safety beneath the Traveler when the city was still being built. Orin was suffering with synesthesia, which is an anomalous blending of the senses in which the stimulation of one experience simultaneously produces sensation in a different experience. People with this oddity can hear colors, feel sounds, and taste shapes. But Orin's sensations were even more obscure, as they were caused by the Nine. Having lost her dear friend, Orin clings to Wu Ming, yearns for warmth, and warmth she receives. Wu Ming is ravenous for her stories of the Nine. He asks whether she's met them, whether they can give a man power, and whether they know a way out of the solar system. Orin cannot answer any of his questions, but she cannot keep her own stories down. She is sick with them. They come out in a compulsive, bilious stream, and when she's emptied, she talks of herself, of her grief, of her restlessness, how she feels the most alive in the empty spaces between blinks, how she feels she's a snake perpetually slothing away its skin, except this last molt is all wrong and she's caught in the ghost throat of her old self.
I'm sorry. I really miss him.
Yeah, me too.
How did you say you knew each other again?
Oh, Namchi and me were buddies. Met in a little dive on Ceres. Used to play cards. He talked about you a lot. Said the Queen trusts you to talk to the Nine for her. That true?
Yeah, sort of. Doesn't seem important anymore.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need a shoulder to cry on, I'm here for you.
This is the first time we hear what I assume to be the real Drifter. His voice sounds dry, honest, and without a hint of the quirky uncle facade he usually puts. It seems that in this moment of grief, witnessing a person mourn over their lost friend without being able to influence that, Drifter, for just a moment, sees himself. In Orin's grief he sees a lost man, holding a lifeless body of an innocent child. He reflects on her sadness and grief, his own struggles and losses he had throughout the millennia. And this one time, Wu Ming drops the act and pours out everything that's been building up inside. Wu Ming leaves his questions by the wayside as he is drawn inexorably into the gravity well of her desperate honesty. Her confessions lower his defenses. He talks of himself, of his fear, of his loneliness, how he feels he's one fingernail away from plummeting into an abyss, how he feels vicious resentment every time he's brought back from the dead. He never asked for the gift of the light. In this instance, for once, Drifter finally has someone to talk to exchange truths with. Maybe, just maybe, for the first time in his lifetime our Drifter has hope. Or maybe he just had to dredge for hope. However, Wu Ming has been a member of some, for the lack of a better word, inconspicuous groups. We witness how Orin reacted to the real truth about Wu Ming.
I'm leaving. I'm going to go find them.
There is nothing out there for you, Orin.
Please don't pretend you care. This is a courtesy dredging.
I don't use that name. Not anymore.
Your friend Cam says otherwise.
Hand to my heart, I'm not lying.
You can't even hear yourself.
Orin, please!
I'm going, Wu Ming. This friendship, whatever you want to call it, it's over. Try not to get shot.
You want to go back to 1,000 years of the Traveler's Dogma, kid? Give up your freedom? Fine. You do you.
And it didn't stop there. The truth about Wu Ming has been revealed further and further, pushing Orin away with every lie uncovered, with every scam resurfaced. Lies, lies, lies. He's not Wu Ming. He's a man named Eli, a man named Dredge and Hope, a man named the Drifter. He's not vulnerable. He's a paranoid con man. He's a dead-hearted murderer. He's a cowardly liar. He's not her friend. He is waiting to make his move. He has always been waiting to make his move. She's stupid. She's so stupid to have fallen for his lies. She cannot mend this. Her name was Orin. One more person, one more relationship, one more friend, one more seed of trust down the gutter. Did the Drifter ever truly trust Orin? Or was it just one more of his elaborate schemes to get what he wants, to learn more about those called the Nine? At this point, it's irrelevant. Shortly after Goal's conquest, Orin was tasked to investigate the Nine personally. Wherever or whatever she is now, she is not herself anymore. And so is Wu Ming. I had a crew once. My best friends. Which isn't saying much, trust me. They're all dead now, almost to a man. So what does that mean for all you little guardians out there who are my new best friends? The most cryptic and peculiar part of Drifter's journey is his so-called adventure to the planet that repulsed light. In his ambitious journey to find power that could shift the balance of light versus light, Drifter and his trusty team full of grizzled veterans embarked on the mysterious icy planet way out of the solar system. It seemed promising, but hand to my heart, it was cold. Humans were not meant for that place. Every once in a while a member of the crew would succumb, died where they stood or sat. Thank the planes for our ghosts. Soon their suspicions were confirmed to be true. The planet was the source of light suppression, though through a terrifying origin. The suppression came from the dwellers of the planet. They witnessed that these creatures were encased in their icy prisons. The team learned that by one of their members dying to the extreme weather conditions and not coming back, their ghosts were rendered powerless. We knew we had to find a way to get these creatures off their icy home, and we needed to find it fast. Despite our breakthrough, tensions were a little high. Some of us thought it was awful convenient the creature wandered by and happened to take out only one of us, and so soon after we realized the value of them. At first, Drifter and his team were ecstatic. The abilities of those creatures, if harnessed correctly, could bring a power shift in light structure that rivals the infamous Thorn. They did not realize how doomed they were just yet. Anyway, this thing, the creature, looked like it shared common bioenergetics with the Hive, but there were no records then or since that I have ever seen of humanity's encounters with them. And the creature had a property the Hive did not have. It produced a field that repressed light, like a darkness zone, but contained to a gooey, vacuous form with no head. The anti-light fields we had detected from orbit that spread across the planet, it was these things. Our ship's scanners indicated thousands of them were on this planet with us. We were ecstatic. In hindsight, we all could have done with a few less of them. The paranoia and madness grew among the crew members, leading to another death, and now a gun being pointed at a fellow man. Fortunately, Drifter managed to smooth talk the gunner down, but warned if he were to see it again from anyone, he will gun them all down. We started to blame each other. Someone must have lured one of those things near crew quarters. To this day, I still don't know for sure. Why kill just one of us? For what? It was more plausible that the creatures did it knowingly. A punishment for our intrusion, but there was no malice there that we could detect. Only biology. At the time, we didn't care. Eventually, one of them drew a gun. I knew it would happen, and I had prepared a soothing speech to smooth things over just in case. I told them to holster that smoke wagon, and the next time any of them tried it again, I'd kill them all without a second thought. I didn't speak plainly often, but when I did, even that crew listened. Their ships were rendered useless soon after, with engines faulting due to the same incredibly harsh and cold conditions. Cold. So cold. Drifter and his team would keel over and die on an hourly basis, thousands and thousands of times over the course of a whole year, while desperately trying to figure out the means to use the creature's power for their own goals, to no avail. To die of cold, to be revived shortly after, still cold. Drifter had already seen this formula. First was hunger, now was cold. The formula of pain, anguish, and torment that the traveler so benevolently granted him. And then, when it was impossible to conjure a worse scenario, the traveler was shut down by Gaul. Everyone lost their light, which included Drifter and his crew. Being riddled by paranoia and madness, people screamed betrayal. They had enough with each other and drew guns on one another once more. This time it was their last draw. Once again, Drifter came out to be the only survivor of the conflict. Angry and seeing one of the frozen creatures seemingly watching him, the Drifter flipped it off and contemplated that he was now alone and stranded. To this day, I'm not sure how many of those guys drew intending to kill. But I'll tell you this, I was the only one who walked out. The creatures in that monolith watched it all. When it was over, I stuck a finger straight up at it. It was just me now. How I'd get from there to here? Maybe I'll tell that story someday. We'll see if my gambit makes it that far. At this point, the Drifter's ghost finally snapped, presenting an idea to capture the creatures. Curious, the Drifter inquired about the approach, acknowledging the inherent danger posed by them. The ghost outlined a plan involving modifications to his shell, but emphasized that acquiring components from other deceased ghosts, once teammates of the Drifter scattered across the icy planet, would be necessary. In pursuit of these ghosts, the Drifter cautiously avoided the creatures to the best of his ability, deliberately eliminating the ghosts of his fellow mates, of his friends, one by one, to acquire their parts. The Drifter commenced a lengthy process of modifying his own ghost, battling against the freezing temperatures to ensure completion. Once the modifications were finalized, the Drifter's ghost gained the unique ability to perceive and emit light and energy across a spectrum unlike any other ghost, at the cost of turning his eye red and silencing himself forever. This breakthrough eventually served as the foundation for the technology utilized in gambit banks, moats, and portals, a breakthrough that gathered interest of many. So, spread your unholy word, brother. Give new life to old myths, and when that hateful name Dredgen spreads throughout the system, his real disciples will have no choice but to confront their sins. And you and me will be the ones hearing their confessions. Oh, one more thing. Let me know who has the gall to change their names. I might want to give him a word or two. With the icy planet behind him, Drifter travels back to the city, stocked up on alien gear on his new ship called the Derelict, with a relic called the Hall attached to it. And with those newfound upgrades and gadgets, he had major plans to change the game, to level the playing field. Drifter was ready to introduce the idea of Gambit. But what is Gambit? In its technicality, it's a competition between Guardians, similar to the Crucible coached by Lord Shaxx. The main point of the game is to collect and bank as many motes of dark as possible, and interrupt the opposing team from doing so by invading their side. The largest difference between this and normal Crucible is that many tools and tactics provided by Drifter, modes, primevals, taken energy and invading, served as a way to play with powers of darkness, akin to Oryx, the Taken King, so that all of the players would eventually be tempted to go beyond the light. But before that, Drifter had an old colleague to contact. One of the secrets that Drifter holds close to his heart was his affiliation with a group of rogue lightbearers, those that looked for means of power beyond the light, the Shadows of Yore. Bearing the name Dredgen Hope, he would stick with them until a conflict with a fellow called Callum, who apparently stole a valuable artifact from him. To Drifter's misfortune, that's not the most advertisable past a man can have when they're being investigated by none other than Shin Malphur. Why head cityside now? Why risk antagonizing those best equipped to cut his journey short? Can't quite say. I get the sense he's on the run, but from what? From who? There are shadows in his past. Do they linger? Do they hunt? Or is his desperation driven by other concerns? All I've seen, all I have uncovered of him, of his long, winding road, says he's made enemies at just about every turn. Over centuries that list grew real long. He's been comfortable on the dodge out beyond the reef, ever moving, ever exploring, never concerned with the dangers riding his wake. So again, why now? Why here? What's his play? More important, what's his game? Shin Malphur, also known as the Man with a Golden Gun, is known as a vigilante and a hunter for those who look into the void for just a bit too long, hunting down and eliminating any risen who could pose threat to the light, and that includes a company of Shadows of Yore, who were led by Dredgen Yore, also known as Rezil Azir, also known as the creator of Thorn.
If you're gonna hang with me, you need to know about the Shadows of Yore. They follow the edicts of a very bad man named Dredgen Yore. And what are his shadows after? Everything the light can't provide. I thought they could help me find an answer to the battles of light versus light that raged during the Dark Age. The longer I flew with them, the more I saw they're blind as all those who follow the Traveler. One albatross for another. I was done with them. And that title I gave out, Dredgen, I did it to piss them off. Draw the shadows out where I could see them. Worked like a charm. I love all you little guardians. You're so forthright, so eager to please. That make you angry? Good. Use it.
Upon deciding to meet, Drifter played smart and met Shin on a neutral ground to discuss some ideas that could be of interest to both of them. At the time, Drifter did not know that he's meeting the famous gunslinger. At first, Shin mentioned an odd addition to Drifter's ship, an obscure piece of technology attached to the ship's backside. He calls it an artifact, but it's more than that. Just don't know what exactly. He said he got far out as he's ever been, said it was from a place cold enough to snuff out your light. I asked him, was it Vex? Hive? KG is all, he said no, it was just other, and it was powerful. Maybe. That was his qualifier. Maybe. Why the hell bring it to the inner system then? Maybes are trouble, but he's got an answer for everything. He says, brother, maybes are where the real treasure hides. He could tell I wasn't satisfied, but I knew he wasn't lying. The chunk was other, for sure, and Ghost said its readings were off the charts, but abstract, unlike anything anyone had encountered. After boasting about his haul and places he had been to, like the Fourth Tomb of Nezarec, it was clear that Drifter didn't seem to sway the old renegade just yet, so Drifter decided to rat out a fellow Dredgen, Callum, his old friend and a thief, which piqued Shin's bloodthirsty interest with ease. Can't say that made me comfortable, but then the Drifter, with his easy manner and eager charm, asked if I'd ever met a man in black named Callum. He was clearly changing the subject, but he was lucky enough, or smart enough, to pick one I had interest in, and I could respect that. Then the discussion of Gambit has begun. Drifter explained the mechanics of Gambit, modes, Taken, Primeval, etc. He showed off the artifacts and trinkets he gathered throughout his adventures, and this is what Renegade had thought of it at first. While Guardians have been waging war with the Taken, while the city's newest legends have been trespassing on Ascendant ground and kicking in Taken skulls, the Drifter's been playing Warlock, which he ain't if it wasn't clear, not by common understanding anyway. In drawing strength from curiosity and using knowledge to bend understanding to his will, this wily bastard has long since shed any pretensions of class or the limitations therein. While you lot have been having your fun, drunk on loot, dancing on the corpses of your enemies, he has been watching, learning, stealing, and planning. Now, I make no promises that what he has done was ever intended for the greater good. Point of fact, I actively doubt it, but here we are. He has kit-bashed Vex tech with fallen components, married it to hive magic, and scavenged Golden Age science with a sprinkling of those who knows what, and he's... Hold up, I know this sounds bad. Sounds like just the kind of trouble we squash, but... He's secured a pocket of the Ascendant plane. Not a throne world, nothing that grand, but a big enough chunk to matter, and he's gone and caged an army. A Taken army. Leftovers from Oryx's reign? Something new? Something old? Something hers? Can't say. Don't know. But he has them there. He says it's to hold them, study him, but the best bet says his intentions aren't so clean. Purity of intent aside, this is what he wanted to show me. This is why he is here. His gambit. He wants to help humanity, help us poor fools who call ourselves Guardians, learn how to control not only the Taken, but the powers that bind them. At first, Shin Malphur did not fancy the idea of Taken blockers, as he deemed it to be way too dangerous. As he says, tearing soldiers of the deep from another realm is crossing a bridge too far as is. But those beasts? Those weren't normal Taken, possessed and set to rage. They were born of that shadow realm, and they were angry. Worse, they were hungry for the light. He could feel it. Even a ways off, their aura and their rage waited on me, cast a shadow I could feel in my core. That he kept them from us is unsettling. He says it was a necessary deception. I put my gun to his head and asked if there were any others he'd mind sharing. He just laughed, as he does, twiddling that coin of his, and smiled that winner's smile. Told me to take a load off. I almost shot him then and there. But then Shin Malphur had a revelation. To use Gambit as a competition of light versus dark, to engulf Guardians with the power of Taken in the deep, to see who survives the test of excess and desire, and who succumbs to the powers of darkness. That would be an ultimate test for his legendary hunt, and thus Shin encouraged the creation of Gambit to weed out the traitors. The true premise of this Gambit is what you and I can learn about our enemies, maybe even ourselves. That has to be first and foremost. After that, we assess Gambit's value and its risks. If the danger escalates, we shut it down. If any Guardians go too far, we shut it down, and them, if need be. What Shin did not know is that Drifter had his own plans to deal with the man with the golden gun. Drifter had no plans for him and his new crew to meet an unfortunate demise by the hands of a crazy, light-obsessed lunatic, so Drifter began constructing a weapon that would rival the almighty Thorn, a weapon that would outdraw the fastest gunslinger in the universe, a weapon, creation of which would require a seething heart of an Ascendant Chimera and whatever Callum stole from him all that time ago. As we tried to hunt Callum for the stolen parts, we realized that it's too late for him, as the only things left of Callum are an ashy spot on a wall in an Ascendant plane, a deed done by none other than Shin, so that when the day comes for Dredgens of the world to answer for their deeds, their holster would be ready.
The man with the golden gun killed Callum. Every one of those hunted types has got a golden gun. But that man fights like it's his. He's been after me and my crew a long time. Pretty sure I'm the only one left. Anyway, I gotta thank you. Not a lot of people I like. Even less I can trust. Just don't ever tell anyone what you saw today. You crossed me, and well, let's just say it wasn't an accident that man found Callum. Let's get you back to action. There's plenty of Gambit in front of you.
And all of us, with this in hand, even the man with the golden gun should have pause. Maybe we can't outshoot him. Maybe he can't be outshot. But if we all take our shot together, we don't have to beat him to it. He will die too. Remember this, for when the day comes. However, the story does not end here. What the poor, observant, and insightful drifter did not know was that all of these plans, all of these constructions and blueprints and schemes were all part of Shin's plan. Shin Malphur wanted Gambit to happen. He wanted Maleficence to be created. He entrusted the last word into our hands, which certainly did not bring Drifter any joy.
Hey, what the hell are you doing with that gun? That's the last word. You know you can trust me, but the man who gave you that? He's the one who walked into hell and spread my friend's ashes on the side of a rock. Oh, you are such a punk. Trying to play both of us, huh? You are insane. I dig it. But ask yourself, what's to stop that man from doing you in, like he's done with so many of my friends? I'll be seeing you, punk.
Shin Malphur, or should I say, Dredgen Vale, the real name. He wanted more Dredgens, more Shadows of Yore to burst into this conflicting world. But why? Why would he make more enemies of his kind? Because that makes the hunt only so much easier. That makes shedding light on the traitors of the Traveler only so much more clear as Shin himself reaches out to us, saying Maleficence was a gift, a sample to gauge the true hearts of those who reveled in the Drifter's games. Those sated by its wicked power were keen enough to know their limits, but those hungry for more, a danger worth tracking. In some cases, a danger in need of confrontation. But the game has only just begun, and I risk much like this here, me offering you the olive branch of truth and trust. Yes, I have led you to believe I was your friend, and the shadows my enemy and yours. If all I have just revealed calls that into question, know that it shouldn't. The shadows are a danger. We're guided by the evolved and controlled methods of Dredgen Yore, except instead of death and destruction, I am offering the mysteries and powers of the darkness as bait for those who would otherwise go freely into the abyss. I have built the perfect trap with which to cull the weak-willed, and it is working. So the following questions arise from this. Did the two ex-Dredgens ever truly, really trust each other even for but a moment? Did Drifter ever suspect Shin of being one of his old crew? Did Shin ever suspect Drifter to turn against him using the weapon of light and dark? Those questions might remain to be unanswered indefinitely. But one thing can be said for certain though. Overall, Gambit was a success. So Drifter proceeded to take it one step further, to set out the scheme onto a larger playing field. Or you can say, to put the scam into its prime form. The man is a loner and a cheat, building as many bridges as he burns in the Guardian community. He has true allegiance to nothing and no one but himself. It's possible he's gathering Gambit regulars to defend himself from his own kind. That's what Warlock Daeynore had to say, one of Ikora's well-trained spies and detectives, also known as the Hidden. After the deaths of the Awoken Prince and the Hunter's Vanguard, after the launch of the infamous Gambit mode and various other rumors, Drifter had hit it big. He had hit the jackpot, a new competition called Gambit Prime. Ultimate purpose of it stayed the same, but it was riskier, deadlier, more aggressive, and likewise more rewarding. However, his newfound popularity came at a cost. The old Annex Rat started to be investigated by none other than the Praxis Order and Ichorus Hidden, which, to put to short terms, are basically the spies, lookouts, and investigators of the Vanguard. A professional detective can find dirt on even Drifter, despite his shady past. And such professional was found to be Daeynore, a brown-skinned, crooked-nosed woman with intelligent eyes and a hard stare. Despite her preference to work alone, Honor had to assemble a team for an investigation of this magnitude, and that meant recruiting none other than a young wolf. At this point, we had a choice: to either join forces with the Vanguard to dig up information on Drifter, uncover his true intentions, investigate his connection to the shadows of yore, explore the underlying purpose of Gambit, and most importantly, determine if he poses any threat or danger to the Vanguard or light-wielding Guardians as a whole. This option required delving deep into Drifter's secrets, exposing all the hidden cards he had amassed since Kate's death. However, Drifter was far from thrilled about this prospect, but by surveilling and monitoring Drifter's activities, we would have gathered valuable insights, only to discover that he does not present an immediate danger to the Vanguard. However, this would come at a cost of being labeled a snitch.
Hey, let's be straight with each other. I know the Vanguard's watching me. Probably want you to snitch, am I right? Ah, if you're considering, I get it. Old Drifter likes to play both sides too. But think about it. You stand with them, you're a dead man walking. My games have pissed off a whole lot of dangerous people. You stand with me, I got your back. Trust. So what'll it be? You're picking the Vanguard over me, huh? Ha! You punk. But every man's gotta have a code. I get it. I got one too. Out of respect for principles, and a righteous fear of Ikora's big-ass shotgun. You do you, kid. But I'm gonna change your mind about me. Whoever or whatever you think I am, you're wrong. How's that suit you? Snitch.
We did not expect your friend Daeynore. Her investigation is wise. A trial. Together you will render judgment. We admire your defiance. But this is bigger than the Dredgen. Bigger than even you. Visit us in due time. We will help you find the truths you seek.
Hey, you snitch. A little spider told me you're looking for dirt on the Drifter. I didn't want to believe it, but here you are. Running around the arcology. What do you think you're gonna find? My master plan? A diary, maybe? Hey, that thing looks tasty. Give it a little nibble for me, brother. Or is it a crime to be hungry, too? Here's my guess. You and your warlock friend are fixing to break my deal with the Vanguard. You sicked shin on the EDZ. You sicked the 9 on me. I see you coming. Word of advice? If you're planning to take a shot at me, you best not miss. So there you have it, Snitch. Not gonna hide what I've done, but I'm not bragging either. Just trying to stay alive the best way I know how. You go tell your heroes. Hope they got the dirt they were looking for. Just know that there's too much at stake. You ain't stopping me. Many have tried. They're, well, they're dead now.
Alternatively, you could align yourself with Drifter, cementing your loyalty and trust. Choosing this path would greatly please Drifter, of course, and after some dealings with the spider, Drifter would show you a collection of recorded tapes, providing some glimpses into his struggles during the Dark Age, his stance on ghosts, his brief partnership with the Shadows of Yore, his clash with Shin Malphur, his stance on the Vanguard, his opinion on the investigation itself, and even some moments of existential contemplation. These tapes offer the most extensive information about Drifter outside of lore books, shedding light on his character, confirming and elaborating on some of his past experiences. This might be the one instance when the enigmatic uncle isn't wearing a smile or brushing things off, and his last words regarding close companionship with our guardian seem to be genuine.
Hey, let's be straight with each other. I know the Vanguard's watching me. Probably want you to snitch, am I right? Ah, if you're considering, I get it. Old Drifter likes to play both sides too. But think about it. You stand with them, you're a dead man walking. My games have pissed off a whole lot of dangerous people. You stand with me, I got your back. Trust. So what'll it be? You got grit, kid. I admire a man willing to risk the trust of everyone who's ever been kind to him. But let me set the record straight. You're choosing to walk with a monster. Monsters survive. Trust. People change. Priorities change. Stick with me, and you'll see that. Now, as a symbol of our new partnership, I need a favor from you. Got a shipment waiting in the Tangled Shore. Pick it up for me. I'll tell Spider you're coming.
Okay, brother, this'll be a cakewalk. You just picking up a stash. Clear out the area. I got Vanguard snitches breathing down my neck. Hey, Transmat's coming through fine, but a little spider just told me Shin Malphur's been spotted in the EDZ. Remember him? Famous renegade, golden gun, mad on for revenge? He and I had an arrangement. The EDZ was not part of that arrangement. Come on back to base. We gotta regroup. As my new partner, couple things about me you should know. I've been pitting a lot of very bad people against some good ones. Could end up being trouble for the city. And there's already been some collateral damage. Hand on my heart, I regret anyone who takes a dirt nap on account of me. But I didn't survive by being indecisive. Through every age and era, Drifter's done what he had to. The Warlords and the Iron Lords, they say the Dark Age was untold suffering. I made you tapes.
You've been my crew for a while, brother. Gambit, Prime, all the good work. And against my better judgment, I trust you. Just a little. From the ultimate prepper himself. That's me. Step one, get your ass to Europe.
Dark Age was different times. You ever go hungry till you keeled over? There's one time I found a village to hide out in. I can't feel anything. Yeah. I couldn't either. That's all I got. Hey, kid. It's me, the Drifter. And this is How to Drift, Part 3. Never trust your ghost. He's a tool. A connection to the light. Not a friend. Not in any way that counts. You think he's saving your hide, bringing you back? He's saving his own. I don't care what your guardian dogma says. I don't care what your little buddy has told you. We don't know what ghosts are. They sound friendly, right? But I met some ghosts in the Dark Age. Would kill you for a blue engram and spit on your grave. All so they could grow their light a little more. Make a stronger connection to the traveler. Whatever the hell that means. You're an idiot if you think those ghosts aren't still around. Take mine, for example. Really creeps me out. Cut the tape, Ghost, and don't give me that look. You know where we stand. If you're gonna hang with me, you need to know about the shadows of Yore. Dredging Yore, the Dark Age. I was done with them. That make you angry? Good. Use it. You can't be the Drifter's partner and not know about Shin Malphur. The man with the golden gun is still out there. He's a hero. The stuff of legend. Naturally, he's after my ghost. He wouldn't be the first. But everyone and their grandma has a malfeasance hand cannon by now. I think we're okay if Mr. Malphur ever shows his face. He follows the light like a zealot. And he ends all those who would consort with the dark because of one man who went rogue. It's not his golden gun you should be afraid of, kid. It's his idea that one man can decide he makes the rules, and when you cross him, he can take everything from you. Doesn't sit right with me. Never will. Mighty kind of the Vanguard to let me sleep in the annex. Doesn't get cold down there. Much. Do I trust them for it? Hell no. They're getting people killed just like the Iron Lords. Yes, people. Like you and me. Just 'cause we got the light doesn't mean we ever stop being that. Don't let them tell you otherwise. And that mission statement of theirs, protecting the city, yeah, humanity's done, kid. You can't save them. Even if you could wrap a ward of dawn around this whole town, they'd start dying all on their own. Every single one you save becomes just a memory. I don't need any more of those. You'll get there. You'll see. I thought the city had made you all soft. But there's this hardliner, a warlock named Daeynore. Pretty sure she's trying to kill me. She crashed a handoff between me and the shadows of Yore in Midtown. My buddies took a hostage, and she took out a city block getting them back. Some people didn't make it out. How's that for hypocrisy? She jumped the shark on that one. I would have talked them down. No one had to get hurt. I hope the Vanguard are happy. I heard word from hunter dens across the city. This Daeynore's been building a crew to look into me in the shadows. Bunch of clowns. One of them is this Guardian, a hero of the Red War. Just like you. One of Cade's friends. Just like you. A Gambit regular, except they're a snitch. Have been all this time. I don't mind. As long as they keep bringing motes, we're square. You watch your back out there, partner. Your friends might not be what they seem. Hey, you made it to the last part of my little seminar. You caught me without much else to say. Already talked your ear off, but I guess there is one thing. I want you to know that you're the closest thing to a wheel horse I've had in, 1,000 years. I can see you making that face like you just swallowed some scorn blood. Wheel horse is an expression, kid. It's Dark Age, or we're tight. That's what you kids say, right? So here's something I never had the chance to tell anyone else on account of they're dead or trying to kill me. Don't give in to hope. That gets you killed. Take every day as it is. Trade your jump ship for a long-range hauler and see the universe while you can. I want the best for you, kid. And you won't find that in this system. Speaking of which, the collapse wasn't the last extinction-level event to hit humanity. Old Drifter's seen another one coming. Everything I'm building in the 9 realms is preparation. There's a few seats I'm saving. One of them is for you. If if you want it.
We understand each other a little better now, huh, kid? Just be careful. Seems everyone who knows me is either trying to kill me or dead. A lot of people coming for my ghost. You're sticking your neck out by getting so chummy with me. But hey, if that day comes, they'll eat bullets from both of us. Trust.
At this point, we've been through some tough times with Drifter. We got to learn about him a bit more and became close to one another. It's freeing, refreshing to know that such a careful individual, someone that has a lot of people watching his every move, gained some warmth to the young wolf. But there was another guardian who had tight bonds with Drifter, an awoken titan, a member of the Pilgrim Guard, a friend, and Daeynore knew about them all this time. You're a criminal not to be trusted, but Orin gave you a chance. He turned to look at her. And I think you can bring her back, she continued. He said nothing, but he didn't look away either. There's one crucial factor that we've learned in our discovery in one way or the other. Our guardian learns that the powerful artifact, the Hole, that lets Drifter set up Gambit, banks, moats and everything else, was gifted to him by beings that may very well be beyond our mortal understanding. Of course, I'm talking about the Nine.
It's about time someone taught you respect, little man.
Ha! Someone like you? I know you all keep tabs on me.
Yeah. You've been straying. You don't even use his name no more.
Well, that's why I'm still breathing, brother. Gambit is a chance at salvation. Take it.
You were always so afraid Shin would get you. Sorry, old friend.
Behind you. Oh boy. Easy. Easy now.
Dredgen.
No, not anymore. It's Drifter now.
You have proven yourself worthy. Accept this gift from the knife.
Gift? What gift?
With a horror of revelation so absolute that it would drive her mad if she still had any sanity to lose, Lavinia understands where the Nine have always been. They are within everyone, every system, every living and moving thing. Trillions and pentillions of slim, dark matter tentacles plunged through all our bodies, drinking up the complexity of our lives and thoughts. We're all pinched silhouettes impaled on the twitchings of infinitely long spider legs. The Nine are one of the more mysterious forces of the universe, something so alien and powerful that their proper purpose and description might as well be beyond us, as no words of our dictionary could describe them. The Nine are local cosmic eldritch horror boogeyman, and they are interested. Drifter's first encounter with the Nine was his reunion with his dear old friend Orin, now ascending beyond anything light can provide, working and guiding the Nine through understanding of the mortal psyche. After having an unfortunate encounter with one of the shadows of yore, Drifter gets saved by Orin and gets gifted the Whole, an artifact which allows us to enter the realm of the Nine, to access activities like the Reckoning, Prophecy Dungeon, and Trials of the Nine. Let's divert our attention for a moment. It's evident beyond doubt that Drifter possesses significant power, and to make matters worse, he is a highly intelligent individual. The lore tab of Ancient Apocalypse Striders serves as evidence that he has command over the Taken Primeval summoned during Gambit, the formidable boss figure that appears only once per match, and according to the lore, he can summon up to 9 of them. During Season of Dawn, we discovered that it was Drifter himself who assisted Osiris in finalizing and perfecting the functional version of Sundial, a remarkable device that enables time travel. He has command over the Taken, possesses the ability to be continuously revived, exhibits genius intellect, exceptional technological proficiency, and displays characteristics of a somewhat unstable nature. Regardless of whether he considers us an ally or not, it is in our best interest to have him on our side. Soon enough, our Guardian and Drifter start receiving visions, hallucinations of events of the past, conjured by so-called invitations of the Nine. Through them we learn many things. We learn Drifter's fellowship and falling out with Orin. We learn Nine struggles to understand Marasov and our Guardian. But most importantly, we learn Drifter's main fear.
What does it want?
You ask the same questions. You never listen.
Why did it do this?
He's afraid.
Of death?
Of everything.
So it kills?
He hates violence. He hates it so much that he'll murder anyone who tries to inflict it on him.
Drifter is rightfully creeped out by it and advises us to stay away from Orin and the Nine altogether, as their games are not to be participated in, and he's not willing to play by their rules.
Hey, how you living, sister? What can old Drifter do for you today? Wanna play some Gambit?
The Dredgen has visions. They disturb him.
You know about those, huh? You the one causing them? Tell you right now, I don't appreciate what they say.
The gift is showing you what you must see. It is your fate.
No. I make my own choices.
If that is what you want to believe.
Freaking psycho.
Hold up. You saw that damn card game? No, not good. They're giving you visions too. I'll say it straight. I got a bad habit of biting off more than I can chew. But hey, guys gotta eat. And the deal that got me the haul? Yeah, it just looks so damn tasty. But damn, they're reaching out to you. No, sir. You keep clear of that little blue psycho. Leave this to me. You see her again, you turn the other way, understand? Trust nothing you hear. Hey, if I tell you what I know about the emissary, will you promise to stop wasting your time on her? She used to be Reefborn, loyal to the Queen. Then she died. Ghost picked her up, took the name Orin. Then she went looking for the Nine. She needed power. She got it, but now she's something else. She has no past to uncover. She's not what she was. Neither am I. So stop looking for her.
This continues on for a bit, until the Nine are ready to give us and Drifter their final invitation, their final vision.
We have another truth to share with you. The Dredgen should have told you himself. But as always, fear keeps him from true potential. Please, open your mind.
Might just pull this scam off. And when the time comes, we'll finally be in the clear. A horse. Okay.
We have enjoyed watching you. We came to say farewell. Our attention is required elsewhere.
All right. Thanks for the memories, you lunatic. Anything else I can do for you?
You're already doing it. Keep playing the game.
In the final invitation, Drifter is shown multiple points of interest. First, he sees a horse.
A horse.
Now we know that it's Star Horse, one of the other emissaries of the Nine. But then, Drifter's fear of the second collapse is confirmed.
The night falls. Out there on the edge, your fate is a war unseen amid ruined fleets. 2 women, feared, untrusted, forever at arm's length. Here at home, your fate is a coin in the hand of a liar. One man, afraid, untrustworthy, forever grasping. You must reckon with yourself. Can you see the path ahead? Do you know the shape of your trial?
After the Guardian became aware of these visions, the Drifter warned them that the light alone would not be enough to fight the darkness, and that Gambit was the key to defeating it.
I told you not to look into the emissary, and you did it anyway. You know how many people I killed for less. Shut up. Don't answer that. I don't need the sass right now. I'm in over my head, kid. Emissary and her friends showed me what's coming, and it's what I feared all along. Put aside your dogma. The fight that's coming can't be won with light alone. Gambit's your salvation and mine. See you on the field.
At this point, we as Guardians have known Drifter for a while, starting from meeting the Rat Man shortly after Cade's death, to participating in his games, to launching the investigation and fighting his tapes, to helping him construct relics full of various Geneva Convention violations. Could we be certain that Drifter trusts our Guardian? Is he willing to move on from his past experiences of traitorous fire teams and backstabbing bastards to give us a chance to hold his trust and protect his back? While we can't get a solid answer towards that specific question just yet, there was one thing for certain. A second collapse was coming. Drifter was preparing for the end of times. And he left an extra bug-out bag for us, so we would be prepared for the collapse when it comes. The two sit, they speak, they listen, linkages forged in light and dark of traded secrets as the derelict hangs in orbit around the Earth. Pacts are made. Soon, there's only the silence of knowing left between them. Upon encountering a world-threatening force on their doorstep, Drifter is approached by Eris Morn. Eris needs to understand and listen to the darkness, to decipher the messages from the approaching pyramids, to get a grasp of something seemingly unreachable, and only the Drifter can help. In this chapter, Drifter's main weapon, trust, is mentioned by name. The gun's name fits the wielder and ultimately symbolizes the nature of trust as a concept. Trust can be weaponized, it can be harmful, even deadly, but trust can also protect the people in need. Eris is the one to approach him for help first, to which he is suspicious of. He begins extremely callous and cold to her. Eris hands him a bag. I need your knowledge. You? No. I have had some troubling experiences as of late. Yeah, it's called life. I need to know, she says and hesitates, half-hearted restraint preceding sacrilege. Tell me how to interpret the darkness. What am I, some crusty woo-woo sage? Beat it, kid, I'm packing. Once Eris mentions Vanguard's ignorance on this matter, Drifter shows interest, which highlights his distrust in the Vanguard, and hearing her somewhat denounce them as sources and put her trust into him as someone who knows what's really going on behind the curtains, partly convinces him to consider her offer of information exchange. And so together they study the nature of darkness. The beginning of their relationship symbolizes how fundamental trust is to both of these characters. They're both people who have gone through an unreasonable amount of trauma, whether it's icy plains or lightless planets or unfathomable depths of the Hive's labyrinth. They have lost many loved ones, fire team members, friends and lovers alike. And then, soon enough, Drifter gets to work. He modifies his Gambit mode bank to accept energy brought by the pyramids in an event called The Contact. Later he constructs a machine to decrypt umbral engrams, and another machine to work under the Tree of Silver Wings to transcribe the messages from the pyramids despite Savathun's interference. Even though their partnership began out of desperation rather than friendliness, they had a deal. Albeit it definitely has grown into something more.
Offloading mini-bank. We make a slick team.
I'm surprised you agreed to help us.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat.
You must be truly afraid. Or woefully desperate.
You look outside, anyone who ain't scared ain't smart.
They still pick on each other from time to time, but seemingly not in a harmful or a mean way. It forms into more of a friendly banter.
Mini-bank's brimming. Lay low for a bit, kid. You're starting to draw some heat.
Clearing space in your doomsday shelter already? Aren't you tired of cowering under floorboards, relying on hope and prayers?
No bother. Right insulation. A good blanket.
Why are you not there now?
Since they're both quite old Lightbearers, their connection only strengthens even further when they discuss someone that they both knew.
Inspiring heroics. I'm all riled.
I didn't take you as the type to swoon.
Kid reminds me of Wei Ning. Nothing wrong with a little white hat every now and then.
She was a treasure. You knew her?
Had to pay her tab a few times. Cleared me out.
She did possess great ambition.
As weeks pass by, Drifter seems much more comfortable around Eris, actively joking around with her like he does with young Wolf, even getting a broody individual such as Eris to laugh.
You ever seen Taken here? Before this?
No.
Bingo. Methane makes him wig out.
Curious. The Witch Queen must feel threatened to direct Queria's forces to Titan.
Yeah. Made setting up Deep Six a tough nut to crack. But I did it.
Gambit yields valuable intelligence. Is this why the Vanguard haven't thrown you from the tower?
They're probably just busy arguing over who should come and do it.
At some point, she calls him by his name. Well, one of his names. It's clear that the walls are coming down. Their conversations hide no malice or venom.
So, what? Is it the eyes? They give you space magic? Pact with the devil?
Why?
Small talk. Common curio. Hot gossip is you're wishing on a star. All the rage these days.
The stars whisper your name, Jermaine. Truth seeks you.
I'm as true as they come.
And yet, I see only the meretricious rogue.
Don't cuss at me.
In the end, this event manages to shed light on how Drifter exactly treats trust and having each other's back, claiming that at the end it's every man for himself.
Watch your back, hero. Ain't nobody else doing it for you.
I will.
Me too.
Words, words, words. Let's see who's there when things get really bad.
But even after all of that effort, it still wasn't enough. So Drifter had to construct a plan B.
Hey, I know everything's gone wackadoo out there. It's not every day a paracausal pyramid shows up on our doorstep. But Eris is looking into the darkness, and I'll be helping with that. However, if we want intel on the dark, quick and dirty, the Nine have seen it all. I say we head down into the hall, ask them one question, simple and clean. What is the darkness? What do you say, partner? How about one more ride with the Drifter?
What do you think you're doing, rat?
Eris?
You're a fool if you think I'll let you run amok in the Nine Realms with the Guardian in tow.
You want in on this? Fine.
Drifter had to reach out to the benevolent Nine once again, this time with questions, and it's up to us to find out whether we can find the answer. Our Guardian has been asked for assistance, and Drifter was willing to drift along, as long as he had a handler, so to say.
Guardian, do you read?
Eris, I got this. Go back to yelling at that tree on Io.
You need a handler, rat. And the Guardian needs support.
Suit yourself, Three Eyes.
Their dialogue together throughout the wastes of the Prophecy Dungeon proves that reminiscing their old friends and loved ones puts them closer together once more.
It's like they carved a scepter of Mercury onto this plane. Saint and Osiris need to hear about this.
Yeah, well, make sure you tell them both. News travels slow between those two.
I don't fathom.
I told you, don't cuss at me.
What do you mean, news travels slow between Saint and Osiris?
Well, call me old-fashioned, but if I broke time to save my knight in shining armor, I'd want him to stop fooling around and climb my tower. But, word on the wind is, no one's seen them meet in person.
That doesn't mean they don't.
You saying you heard different?
I know it. What would you do if your loved ones returned?
I don't have those, but if I did, wouldn't be sitting here flapping gums with you.
Exactly. The pigeon and the phoenix exalt in their own way. Leave them be.
Yeah, maybe. What would you do if you could get them back?
Who?
Your fire team.
Wouldn't be sitting here flapping gums with you.
Yeah, that's fair.
We also learned that Eris had some connections with Orin long time ago, and we also get Drifter's stance on friendship in general.
Dredgen.
That's a first. What's up, you lunatic?
The Forgotten Blade. She has been asking about our benefactor, Orin.
You mean Eris? Yeah. I guess she did know Orin back in the day. What'd you say?
Do you trust this blade?
I trust no one, you psychopath.
What does Orin mean to the blade?
Hell if I know. I don't understand people like them.
Lightbearers?
Friends.
Recalling their first dialogue, Drifter inquires regarding Eris's position with the Vanguard.
Hey, Moondust. You know Vanguard. Why do you hang with them?
Ikora and Zavala are dear friends. Even if we don't always see eye to eye. To eye.
You should take it easy. Learn to relax. You're ghostless now. Go live your life. Vanguard business won't end well for you.
Ghostless or not, my objectives would not change.
I've known Ghostless all my lives. Trust me. Live it while you can. No one gets a happy ending.
And do you think those with ghosts do?
Actually, no. Guess I don't.
While this operation was a chance to get an answer regarding the nature of light and dark, Drifter also took a gamble to bring Orin back, to get under the skin of the emissary, to contact the one he proposed his shoulder to cry on. To no avail.
Ghost, hit the signal scrambler. Orin, you out there?
No one by that name remains.
You know, when you say that, sometimes I believe you. Sometimes.
You've severed the Forgotten Blade from this discussion. What are you looking for?
Orin. Tiny, strong, face like yours. Only, you know, not. I need more than one person in this system I can rely on. Oh, the one listening in on this call, who thinks I don't remember she's there? I never forget. Hey, I think we've lost track of the conversation here a little bit.
Indeed.
Is Orin here today or not?
As a light bearer, your very thoughts propel an ontological force. Should you wish it, your sheer will could conjure...
You know what? Screw you too. You can't see me, but I'm saluting you with one finger.
At the end of the mission, we defeat Kel Echo and receive the Nine's final answer, which at the time seemed incomprehensible, almost like a waste of time.
The Nine have given you their answer. We hope it sates your curiosity. You've certainly taught us much.
You're welcome. Let us know if there's anything else we can do.
Rat, you're useless.
Relax, Moondust. We got what we came for. Let's leave the giant head alone.
What Drifter and Eris might have not realized at the time was that we did receive the answer to our question. The emissary wished to warn us and the Drifter of his next coalition, of the factor that the next battle cannot be won by light alone.
Dredgen, let's play a game. Your kind reveals so much in the choices you make.
What the hell does that mean? You know what? Okay, I'll bite.
Your feet find purchase in shifting sands.
Okay, why is it getting hot? Do you feel that, Guardian? I can't see anything.
The night has enveloped you. This is a world of full dark, no sparks.
What's that smell?
The stench of the dead.
Am I dead? Oh, I hope so, because what I'm smelling, I don't want to be touching.
You stand atop a dead world, a collapse.
Get me out of here.
Very well. Your feet find purchase in shifting sands.
Holy hell, what are you doing now? It's too bright.
The sun is blinding. This is a world full of light, no shadows. A creature runs into you in its blindness. It nearly bowls you over.
Oh, hey, watch it. What was that? That's not funny.
It has lived here all its life. Too long. It is very old. But if you could see, you would see it appears young.
Okay, when I said get me out of here, I meant I'm done with your bullshit.
It grabs your hand.
Don't touch me!
It begs. It begs you for help.
You call this a game?
It begs you for death. On this world ruled by full light, it cannot die. It has companions that are as long-lived. It hates them, and they hate it. It will never end. It will never die.
Get me out of here, Orin. It won't let go. I can smell it rotting.
And it smells you. You won't help it.
I said I'm done.
Very well.
What the hell is wrong with you, you lunatic?
You asked about light and dark. Come find us again any time, Dredgen. Guardian.
hints of infinite hourglasses and sharpened blades were meant to represent Drifter's new fireteam in the near future, a company that would conquer an unfamiliar icy world with their newfound dark powers. A new group that consisted of Eris Morn, Elizabeth Bray, and the Drifter, also known as the Dark Vanguard. And Kel Echo of Prophecy was supposed to be our next great villain, the Darkness Baroness, Aramis.
Your old pal Drifter was right. It's time to ditch the light, good, dark, bad dogma. And folks are finally starting to see it.
With everything that's at stake, you are reveling in being right.
Just let me have this one, Three Eyes, all right? Just once.
The collapse has hit a second time. In the midst of chaos and destruction, Drifter and Eris didn't waste time, grabbing the opportunity to learn how to wield the darkness, accompanying the famous Exo-Stranger along the way. They're now known as the first fire team that learned and handled stasis, and as a team that uses darkness, they have to be extra careful to not let its influence get a hold of them. No matter what, Eris wants to make sure that the relationship between each other is crystal clear, as they would lose way more than they would gain from backstabbing, no matter how much each of them preferred to work alone. While your presence is often irritating and your aura repellent, you have proved yourself quite knowledgeable regarding our foes. As darkness appeared, you did not flinch. Your assistance during its arrival was greatly appreciated. Under normal circumstances, I would belittle you and tell you how one such as yourself is unworthy of the position you find yourself in. But nothing is normal during these times, and I accept any ally willing to see past the antiquated philosophy we have sustained ourselves on for so long. You too acknowledge the need for balance during this time of extremes. Need I remind you, our actions must reflect this. Your unpredictable nature has no place here. We must remain steady in our convictions no matter what the Vanguard or the Guardians say. Keep your ears open. Should forces gather against us, it is paramount that we outmaneuver any counter to our plans. We're both accustomed to working alone. For this effort to be successful, we must cast aside selfish intentions and find common ground. Alone, we will collapse under the weight of this undertaking, and the darkness knows how to exploit weakness. I know you feel it as well. The power stasis brings. Does it frighten you? Even though I believe my grasp stronger than yours, I do not have any illusions regarding the darkness. It will tear through your lack of conviction faster than you can abandon the cause. I am curious, however, as to your feelings toward the stranger. You appear as a creature of instincts, and mine remain sharp. I am nagged by the sensation that she's not being entirely forthcoming, and much of her information is shrouded in speculative riddles. I believe her intentions are true, but I cannot separate myself from the uncertainty I feel. Where does your confidence lie? I suspect you do not trust anyone, myself included. Perhaps that is a trait worth adopting. We will be tested in ways we're not prepared for. I hope you see the gravity of our charge, despite your consistent mockery and cynicism. This is no time for humor, though you may not have the capacity to process your emotions without it. It is wise to keep your comments to yourself. Invest in a journal for reflection when times are lighter. And lastly, I ask you to refrain from referring to me as Moondust. Perhaps then I can overcome citing you as Rat. Meanwhile, Drifter wants to make sure that Guardians are choosing the only correct side in the conflict of light versus dark. Their own side. All this talk about choosing sides? Noise. Before this is over, the only one's gonna have your back is you, and that's even odds. Be careful who you trust from here on out, alright? Yeah, that includes me, but I've been telling you that since the beginning. After Aramis is defeated by the young wolf, the Drifter starts to pack his things. Quite literally. He has plans that he's not willing to reveal just yet. You probably heard I'm taking a little trip. Maybe already took one. I don't know when you're gonna listen to this. Let me say, the only thing that'd get me into the true cold again would have to be big enough to change it all. When you look down and you see it's already in your hands, that's hard to walk away from. especially when it was almost yours to begin with. So yeah, maybe I've got itchy fingers, but I'm the kind of fella who'd pick something up so nobody else gets it. It's a zero-sum game. I take what I can. Only thing is, I'm not taking it alone. And you know me, I like to keep some folk close, real close. I feel somebody's hand on my throat, I figure they're about to kill me or kiss me. Personally, I like to keep my options open. That's why I left this message for you, in a place you wouldn't look for if you didn't give a damn. Things are changing, hell, things have already changed, but Drifter's still a safe bet. And I've still got plenty of time, just not as much as I did before. And that's it. At least for Ishtar Collective. For further sources and articles, I had to use something else. At this point, the conversation and contemplation surrounding trust reaches its climax. Beyond Light serves as the turning point where every aspect is subjected to evaluation. Are the qualities of light truly benevolent, or is it merely a means to an end? Could the same question be raised about the darkness? Can we maintain our trust in Drifter despite his ability to wield powers that have effortlessly taken the lives of our comrades? And amidst our own surrender to these forces, can we continue to trust one another? To understand these questions better, we need to understand the darkness better. And of course, Drifter has another plan for that. You've had this for years and never thought to mention it? Eris runs her fingers over the grime-clouded containment glass, housing a large growth of egregore within the Drifter's derelict. Wasn't hiding it. Drifter rolls Eris's Ahamkara bone over his knuckles. Ain't nobody ever asked. Hell, you walked by it before, Moondust. A year goes by. After defeating Savathun, another threat approaches, a floating leviathan, now covered by Callus's new fascination, egregore, to commune with the dark. And who else has plenty of this egregore in stock but Drifter? This is where one of the pieces of the puzzle of the icy planet previously discussed comes to fruition. Do you at least remember where you found it? Sister, you don't want to know. Eris locks her eyes on the Drifter's face. He staggers back awkwardly and shrugs. Icy little nothing in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't have a name, and you don't want to go there alone. From what we can understand, Drifter found egregore on the planet that repelled light. I'm unsure whether the egregore itself is connected to the light repressing ability, but we do know that it's used to form psychic connections, which is a darkness mastery. There's one more thing we can learn from Drifter about egregore at this point of time. He gives in. You know, it sings if you burn it just right. Drifter thumbs behind him. Subsonic resonates in a funny way with pyramid tech. Is that so? You don't trust me? Further, they burn the egregore together while in proximity of Europa's pyramid to see the pyramids of Europa, Luna, and Sabathun's throne world as one, their structures melded and overlapping. Upon visiting the Rolk's pyramid, Drifter produces an unexpected maneuver of kindness. Eris sets a cloth-wrapped stalk of egregore upon a pyramid shard jutting from the stinking swamp. She unwraps and neatly spreads the corners of the cloth before noticing the Drifter's footsteps behind her. Something's watching us, Drifter mutters. He turns to his altered ghost and whispers softly enough to convince himself that Eris cannot hear him. Keep your eye on her, eh? Then louder. I'm gonna look around, make sure that hotshot hero didn't miss any screebs. After letting Eris complete her experiments, the Drifter cooks up a stew for the two of them, and the following ensues. Wild, Drifter says with a whistle. He shakes his head and looks at her full bowl. You gonna eat that? Eris wonders if he heard her correctly, but knows repeating herself is an exercise in futility. What is this, exactly? Pretty damn tasty is what it is. First time I got it right. Thought you'd appreciate someone cooking for you since you, well, you're awful at it. Rat, what are you feeding me? She remembers his hunt earlier in the day and her stomach turns. Eris stares at the Drifter, mouth agape in half-heaved gag, her thoughts racing over the things he's claimed to have consumed. You cooked me rotted screebs. What? Drifter chokes on the stew and coughs. I wouldn't feed you that crap, Moondust. He laughs. You never had crawdad stew? He holds his bowl to his lips. Or a close cousin to it, he adds under his breath. Little swamp shrimps, you dig? It's a delicacy. Eris reels her imagination in, takes a breath, and sips the broth without taking her eyes from the drifter. The liquid fills her crumpled stomach with hearty warmth. She feels her stress melt away. The stew's flavor is far more pleasing than its smell. She smiles and drinks again. Thank you. It is good. Throughout Drifter's journey, his relationship with Eris has been very peculiar to spectate, from working together on deciphering Pyramid's messages, to conducting the contact event, to investigating the realms of the Nine together, to discovering stasis and powers of the dark, to experimenting with egregore and just enjoying a good stew. As their final radio message, Eris shares with Drifter that with their joint effort, she may find peace again after everything she endured.
I received your last message. Whatever reckless plan brings you to the reef need not be shared with the Vanguard or the Guardian, but keep me informed at the very least. Those haunted here have found a measure of peace, but it takes more than resolve to overcome one's regrets. We have both felt it. How a moment of pain can weave into the whole of our lives. How it binds us to patterns of thought and action. I have stared into the eyes of my pain made manifest, pleaded with it, raged at it. What face would your nightmare wear? For so long, I believed peace was beyond my reach. No more. I have found it in guiding others down the same path that saved me. But I might allow myself to want more than peace. What? I am not certain. Is joy the word? Might I find that again? You told me to live my life. There is more truth in you than either of us would care to admit. I have something that will be of interest to you. The lunar pyramid remains rife with secrets. Meet with me, and we will discuss what I have found. Take care, Rat.
Gradually, beneath the familiar facade of grime that defines the Drifter, glimpses of nobility emerge. However, this side of him is only revealed in the presence of Eris, the one individual who has experienced a comparable level of trauma. Those two share a deep connection, operating on a similar wavelength. Having endured countless hardships, including prolonged periods of loss, betrayal, despair, contemplation of existence, and even bouts of insanity, the Drifter finally finds a companion. Whether it be a friend or a potential romantic partner is insignificant. What truly matters is that he discovers someone in whom he can place unwavering trust, reaching the depths of his wounded heart. Take care, Rat. Yeah, I've been to the fourth tomb of Esoterickk. Ain't enough glimmer on you for me to consider ever going back there. You're on your own. We're slowly, but surely, catching up to the present times. That can be shown by our sources of information, where Ishtar Collective ended on Beyond Light, and the actual wiki ended on Season of the Haunted. That leaves the next seasons where Drifter is mentioned or plays a part a bit blurry. Let's see... Drifter. What's going on with you now? Ah, right. Season of Plunder. The Guardian works together with Mithrax, Drifter, and House of Light scribe Ido to chart a course across the stars to recover the relics of Esoterickk before Aramis is able to do so. We know that Drifter knew about the relics we've been collecting a bit more than we'd think, referring to them as they were related to Nezarec, claiming he hasn't felt like this since visiting one of his tombs, which we've learned back from his talk with Shin Malphur. Ido mentions Drifter's old name, which is Germain. After we hear Drifter's pep talk about freedom and trust, we can learn a lot about how much he is willing to trust Ido while still preserving his agency.
I wanted to speak with you, Germain.
Whoa! What kind of books you been reading? It's been Drifter for a long while now.
Drifter, then. You have kept secrets from us since the beginning. It is unkind to withhold knowledge.
Unkindness was never my aim. Apologies, sister.
Accepted. Do you have any insight as to why the Lucent Hive are interested in the relics?
Power is freedom, and everybody's chasing it, from the biggest freaky moth monster to the lowest space pirate.
But while the Lucent Hive are loyal to Savathun, the pirates enjoy a startling degree of freedom already. They're not constrained by office or honor. They are ruled only by their own desires.
Yeah, it might look that way from the outside, but they've got to fight for everything they get. That's just survival. A meal and a bed that don't come at the end of a blade? That's freedom.
You're drawing a comparison.
Me? Look, I get it. Walking away from folks can feel like freedom. If no one's relying on you, there's no one to disappoint. No one to be disappointed by.
Now you are speaking of Mizraxkel. I do not judge him for who he was, but he treated me like a hatchling.
Can't really blame him for not wanting to discuss it. Shame's a hard thing to shake. Harder if you have to share it.
You are saying I should forgive him.
That's your call, sister. I'm just saying, I get it.
Aramiskel seeks freedom for our people, but her freedom is vengeful. She wishes to be free from her shame. She will sacrifice Elixni lives in its pursuit, and it will never end. Thank you, Drifter.
You know, I don't hear that enough.
Hopping further to Lightfall, the only real lore piece that we got of Drifter's advancement is presented in the Gift of Cruelty lore tab, where it describes Drifter's adventure to the fourth tomb of Nezarec, where he was unkindly interrupted by the cultists of Nezarec, evolving into a gunfight. And now we are in Season of the Deep, with Drifter finally back in the frame. He seems to know a lot about the egregore coral down at the ocean floor, claiming that we can utilize it to deepen Sloane's psychic link to Asa, the Leviathan, which seems to have worked so far. We also got a dialogue on the radio between him and Zavala, where Drifter claims that all of this could simply be a game of the Nine.
It just works?
It's not a scam, if that's what you're asking. Ain't gonna make you put in some glimmer and pull a lever. See, the way I look at it, this has always been the plan. Playing the game, Gambit, the machine, the Nine taking the long view.
You think the Nine were telling you to run Gambit for this? That they saw everything coming and that's how they choose to prepare us?
Don't know, boss. Maybe they see the future. Maybe they're just a few floors above and can see further down the road than we can. Maybe we're all just squinting at specks, looking for meaning. What I'm saying is, it works. It'll get us what we need, and maybe, if we're lucky, get Sloane what she needs too.
And what is that?
A win.
At the end of the day, Drifter's an evolving character, whose arc and journey is still ongoing, and it seems like it's not stopping anytime soon. Nonetheless, we've learned a lot throughout his journey. We pondered on the ideals of the people of the Dark Age, we questioned Iron Lord's morality, we confronted the idea of maddening isolation, hunger, and shivering cold, we examined what would it take to be a double agent in this universe, and most crucial of all, how could our actions and experiences shape our perception of trust and fidelity? Drifter possesses a multifaceted character, encompassing various traits, beliefs, bonds, ideals, and flaws. Over the course of at least 5 years, both in terms of writing and lore development, he has undergone a significant transformation as a Lightbearer and as an individual. Starting as a low-lie nobody in a desolate world, he has now emerged as a potential powerful ally and perhaps one of our closest friends, although he may not use such a term. Beneath the mask of a meretricious rogue, we have come to understand that there lies a potential of a strategic mastermind, a skilled player in the intricate chess game of the world, and a true survivor at the very core. Would a person of such caliber, of such immense intelligence, trust others? Or would someone with such brilliance remain cautious, hiding in the shadows, fearing betrayal from even the closest of allies? I think Drifter chose the first option, and he was rewarded for it. He saw Eris's smile upon indulging themselves in a warm meal. He witnessed Orin mourning on his shoulder and what became of her later. He played a game of cards with the man with the golden gun. He got snitched on countless times, but after everything, the Red is still willing to lend us his trust alongside Moondust. I wish to provide credit to Jonathan Toe and the writers that followed him on creating this beautiful and sophisticated persona of Drifter, and I want to thank Todd Haberkin for his wonderful performance in the voice acting department.
You sure do know a lot about me, punk. Digging up dirt on me, huh, snitch? Haven't I seen you on the field before? Instead of trying to figure me out, why don't you figure out how to bank more moats?
Sure does sound like a storm is brewing.